Welcome back to Design with Miyoshi. I'm going to show you a little about SolidWorks today. We're going to do three um, models that I do in my class, and I'm going to do them right in a row. I'm going to try to do them quickly.
But first, I want to thank Northwest Technical Products for sponsoring this video. If you are part of an educational institution in Washington, Alaska, Oregon, Idaho, or Montana, contact Northwest Technical Products for all your SolidWorks and other technical needs. Thanks, Andrew, and all the crew at Northwest Technical Products. All right, let's get started. Here we go. So the part we're going to make is numbered 5-38, so I'm going to make a new part. And we are going to make this what's called a step block. And I'm going to turn this guy off too. Don't show this page again. Seems like it showed it last time, even though I clicked it. Oh, no. All right, so we're going to make a new part. And with all parts, you are going to, oh, goodness, close you up. All right. So with all parts, you're going to start the same way. You're going to make a sketch. So we'll sketch, sketch. And again, I'm going to start with the front plane. The front plane is going to be a little rectangle with a notch cut out of it, as you see in the drawing. So here is, I'm going to go ahead and make a rectangle this time. And I'm just going to make the rectangle like this. By the way, if you notice, there are little triangles by the icon. If you see an icon, that means that there are more than one way to make those different things. So we have a line, we have different ways to make lines, different ways to make circles, etc. Okay, so we're going to make a little rectangle there. And I like to make it centered, so I'm going to make a center line here. Again, I'll snap to the edges, and that's that little yellow icon there. It says snap to the point. So I'll snap to the point, and then I'll add a relation. Now again, you can check this little box here, but you don't have to. All you have to do to get out of the command, all you have to do is come up here, and I'll do add relation. And add relation, notice that it's selected line 5, which is the center line, and I'll grab the origin, and then I'll make the midpoint. And again, if you can't find the origin, click over here, and you can click on origin, and it'll be selected. Okay, so I'll go to midpoint, and that centers my drawing. Then I will go ahead and dimension this guy. Now you can dimension it earlier or later, depending on this particular drawing. You can do it earlier or later. The height of this guy is 1 3/4, and again, you can do 1 space 3/4. And it's in inches, or you can do 1.75. I'm going to grab the bottom and make this guy 3.75, or 3.5 rather, 3 space 1/2, and that makes it 3.5. 1 3/4 by 3.5. Okay, now there's a notch out of here, so I'm going to make a notch. And what you can do is just make a little line. I'm just going to make the line outside of my box. And notice it can be horizontal, vertical. Maybe I'll make this guy not quite horizontal, and then I'll go in chain, and then I'll even do one last thing in add relation. Now this guy here is not vertical or horizontal, so I'm just going to grab it and make it horizontal. The other thing you can do, you don't even have to add relation. If you just have a single thing, you can just select it, and right over here, you can make the property be horizontal. Okay. Now let's do something fun. We're going to do trim entities, and that's right here. Notice there's trim and extend. Right now we're just going to do trim, but you can imagine extend does just the opposite of trim. Trim cuts off things just like you expect. So trim entities. Notice there's many different types of trimming. We're going to most of the time use power trim, and when you power trim, you click and drag across the things you want to get rid of, and any intersections will be where they get cut off from. So I'm going to just click here and drag across that line, 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 and that cuts it all off. Okay. Now you can look. If you looked at the drawing, you can see that the notch is actually half of the size, and you could make this corner point. Oops, it looks like it's not. Nope, it is. You can actually make this corner point and this origin the same, but I'm going to go ahead and dimension it because I like to dimension things. Oopsie. And I'm going to dimension, smart dimension, and I'll dimension this guy. Now, I can dimension this line, or I can dimension like we've done with these other two guys, or I can actually dimension dimension from and to two different parts. So I'm going to grab this line here and I grab this line here, and that gives me my distance. Uh-oh. Now, when it does this, that means that there's some relation. And I'll cancel this guy. So that guy says it's lined up with this one. So I'm going to get rid of this by clicking on it and then just deleting it. Oh, come on, delete that. Oh, get out of smart dimension. So I'll click on this guy and delete it. Apparently I made it right above there. That was why that line was black instead of blue. Then I'll go ahead and come back to smart dimension. And I'll grab this line and this line. And the distance between them is actually 1.75. I'll just hit enter. I can do the same thing here. The horizontal line and the horizontal line and the vertical distance between them is, what is it? 7/8. So I'll just do 7/8 instead of knowing that that is 0.875. And there it is. Beautifully dimensioned. Everything's perfect. I can now get rid of the smart dimension or stop smart dimensioning. Now, I will go through, or hopefully I have made one already, but what the different types of lines are. But if you recall, here's an object line, these are extension lines, this is the dimension lines. Notice that I can cross extension lines, but I don't ever want to cross dimension lines. So if I had something like this, I don't ever want to do that because that violates the rule of never, ever, never, ever, ever, never crossing a dimension line. So try to put these guys in nice, neat places so you have good, beautiful dimensions. Okay, then once I do that, I go to features, extrude vowel space, and I know that it is 3/4 inches thick. So I'll type in 3/4 because I don't want to convert that to 2.75. Notice again, I can drag this guy if I want to, but I like to type in the number here, hit the check. And there it is. All I have to do now is save this guy up, and I will save it as 5-38 and hit save and done. Okay, so that's the first model we're going to make. The second model we're going to make is, so again, go to star or new part. Okay, and as long as you set up your IPS inch pound seconds, it should be set up down here. So say IPS inch pound seconds. If not, hopefully you can change that. Well, you can change that just by clicking on this guy and go inch pound seconds. Also, if you need to, when we get to dimensioning, you can go to edit document units, and that's here. And the other thing you can do is change your where to go. Annotations. Yeah, that's not it. Drafting standard. Make sure this guy is ANSI. All right, now I don't have to do that. I already did that. And if you didn't set up your units, you should make sure. Well, hopefully you set up your units properly in the very beginning. So again, we're starting with the sketch. We're going to do the front plane again, and this time what we're going to do is we're going to make a little U shape. Now this one's kind of interesting. So if you look at the drawing, you can see it's kind of a U shape. So I'll just make these lines kind of willy-nilly. And the reason I do that instead of making them beautiful is because I'm going to go ahead and go into the properties here, and I'll make this guy horizontal, and I'll click off this guy. I don't need any more lines right now. I'll make this guy horizontal. Oopsie, wrong. Control Z. I'll make that guy vertical. I'll make this guy horizontal. I'll make this guy vertical. And you can hit the shift key and grab all the horizontal ones and all the vertical ones and then make them all vertical or horizontal at the same time. But I just want to take a little time and show you how that works. Now, here's a really cool relation that you're going to want to know how to do, and that is something called coincident. Now, if you have a point and a line and they're coincident, that means that they're on each other. One point's on the line. But if I have two lines, I can make them coincident. Actually, in this case, I'm going to make them collinear. So I'll make this guy and this guy collinear. That means they're on the same line, co meaning the same, and linear line. Make them collinear, and now they're the same height. Okay, and in this instance, instead of the whole thing being centered on the origin, I'm going to just grab this guy, the bottom line, and the origin, and I'll make them midpoint. Okay, now you notice there's a couple of weird things that happen there, and we can fix those up real quickly here. And the way I'm going to fix them up is I'll stay in add relations, and I'll grab two different lines. I grab this line, that same top, those top two lines again, and I just zoomed in a little bit. Yeah, I make little sound effects. Sorry about that. And I'm going to make them equal. That says they're going to be equal size. Anything else I do? That looks like about it. I'll get out of add relation, and then I'll go ahead and start adding some dimensions. All right, so smart dimension this guy. It says in my book I'm using that this guy is, what is it, 1/2 inch edge. And so look, it's pretty close, but I'll make it exact, 1/2 inch edge. The height here is 2, and the length here is 3.5. So I'll just put 3.5 instead of doing 3 space 1/2. And then the thickness of this guy, so I'll grab the line here and the line here. The thickness of that is 1/2. Now, notice that I move that guy outside of the other dimension. That's a no-no, at least in terms of drawing. So I'll move it back in, because remember, you never ever cross the dimension line. All right, and then it looks like everything's black, so everything is hunky-dory. We are ready to go. So I have made that guy the size it's supposed to be. Everything is beautiful. Now we're going to go ahead and go to features. Extrude by space. This time I use the other one I should have told you earlier that we're going to use, and that is midplane. So midplane instead of line. Actually, just put in line. The thickness of or the width of this whole thing is 2. And so I could just do this guy just like I did before with the line, but I'm going to do midplane. And the reason I'm going to do midplane, I like it both out and back, is because I have I just wanted to keep it that way for some other things I'm going to do. So we're going to midplane extrude this time. And there it is. Now, the last thing we have to do is we have to make these square holes in this bracket. So I'm going to go ahead and make a new sketch. So I'll go back to sketch and sketch. And again, this time it tells me, hey, you got to select a plane or a face or something to do this. You could go ahead and grab a plane or a face like here, or the outside one or the inside one there. But I like to go ahead and make that in the front, not the front plane, the right plane. So I'm going to make this new sketch in my right plane. And now I'll just make it a rectangle again. I'll just make a rectangle this time. Let's go ahead and change this to the view I want. And this is the view I want. I want to look at this edge. So I'll just make a rectangle. And then I'll have to dimension it. Okay, right? Once we make our sketch, then we have to dimension it. So I'll dimension this guy. It is 2 inches, or 1 inch square rather. So I'll make a 1 inch here. And because I don't want to do too many dimensions, I just like to add relation, and I'll make this and this equal. Now, if you remember some geometry, you don't have to make all of them equal because these guys are vertical and horizontal. That means that it is a square, which means that if these two guys are equal, then that means that they're all 4 equal. All right, now notice that they're blue still. That's because we haven't centered this guy on the top edge. And when you center it, you have to make sure, oops, am I using my middle mouse here? Oops, I have to click. Oops, what's going on? You should be able to use your middle mouse to rotate your model. And I don't know why it's not, but okay. All right, oops, that's why, because I'm still in that command. So let's do Control C, get rid of that. All right, so I'm just going to go ahead and make this guy centered. And the way I do that, I know that it's 2 inches wide, so I'll add a dimension here. It says the distance from here to here is 1/2 inch. And I know that, let me get out of Smart Dimension real quick, and I'll just move this guy. And I know that this guy is 2 inches tall, but then there's a 1/2 inch here. So if I want to center it on the top, I'm going to take away the 1/2 inch. That makes this guy from here down to that edge 1.5. I'll subtract my 1, and that makes it 1/2 inch. And then half of 1/2 inch is 1/4 inch. So I will Smart Dimension from the top to the top edge, and that's going to be 1/2 or 1/4. So I'm going to try to line this guy up. Well, I would line it up, but it's not lining up. So I'll just click here somewhere close, and 1/4 inch is how much it is. So there we have it. And there again, my model is beautiful. I will exit the sketch, and I don't know why it's not turning my model. I might have to change the setting or something. But then once I do that, I will go to, let's just do this. Let's look at this guy here. Notice that the sketch was on that right plane rather than on a face. You could have put it on any of the faces, but I like to do that. And then I'm going to go ahead and go to my features. Go to, oops, not extrude by space. What I want to do is extruded cut. So that's this guy here, extruded cut. And notice it only goes one way unless you tell it to go both directions. Through all, that'll just go all the way through anything in one direction. But through all both, will go through all in both directions. You could also, in this case, do midplane, but oops, you could do midplane. But then you have to tell it how far you want it to go out. And I don't want to do that. I'm just going to go through all both. Okay. Notice there are many options here, and you can explore those different options if we don't do them together. I'll do the check, and now there's my model. So model 542 is done as well. That's called the rod support. And so I'll just save, and that's 5-42. If you were actually in my classroom, you would notice that the book actually shows it as 442, but that's a typo in the book. It should be 542. All right, last one. So we're going to close this guy up, and then we'll do one more new one, new part. And this one is 5-43. It's called the Cradle. If you were in my class again, you would notice that there is something wrong, and that would be that the sketch, or the drawing doesn't actually fit the dimensions. Trust the dimensions and not the figure itself. So we're going to do sketch again, sketch, sketch. Again, we're going to do front plane. This one's a little different. So I'm going to go ahead and make some lines. Again, I'm going to make this guy centered on the bottom edge, and I did make that horizontal. I wasn't going to, but I did. And I'm going to end the chain for a second. that says something different. So I'll make some new starts over here. And there we go. Okay, this is not quite what you should have, obviously. I like to go ahead and show, again, making things horizontal, and that one's already horizontal, make things vertical. And maybe I'll select more than one thing this time. So I don't hold the shift key, but I'll hold this guy, and then I'll hold the shift key down, grab that one, and grab that one. That's already horizontal, but that's okay. I'll just make them all horizontal. I don't know why that didn't go to horizontal. Now I'll grab this one. Oopsie, something happened weird there. I don't like when it does that. Oh, you're that. I'll grab this guy. I'm not sure that I like that feature now. That one, that one, that one. That one's already vertical. So I'll just grab those three and make them all vertical. All right. Oh, and I'll grab this one and this one. Oopsie, not in relation right now. So add relation, and I'll grab that one and that one. Oh, well, get out of there. Not select anything. Get rid of that. Okay. So the other thing you can do, if you want to, if you don't like to go up here to add relation all the time, you can just click on click on your object. Click on your other object with the shift key held. If you hold the shift key and then click the other object, it'll bring up the properties. It'll bring up your add relations, and you can just put them in, and I'll make them collinear. Okay, one last one, and that is this guy and the origin. Again, I will do that with the. Nope, I'm not going to be able to. Looks like. So I'm going to go ahead and come back here and hold the shift key down and grab the origin, and then I'll make that midpoint. Okay. Now, oops, one more. This time I'll go to add relation, and I'll grab that guy, ungrab that guy, ungrab the origin as well because they were still selected, and I'll grab this guy, and I will make them collinear as well. Okay, now, if you recall, the next thing we're going to do is we're just going to dimension them. So smart dimension, click on that guy, and that guy is total of 6 inches long. And then this distance here, or I'm going to grab this one and this one instead. And that is a height of 1/2. So I'll do 1/2 for 1/2 inch. The total height, which is from the bottom to the top here, that total height is 2 inches. And then the distance between here and here, that is 3 inches. Now, there's one other thing that if you were in my class, you wouldn't necessarily see right away, but you should, well, I think it says in there that this guy is centered. But that way to center this and this is to either dimension from here to here and do some math, or you can just add a relation that says this guy and this guy are equal. And we also want to make sure this one and this one are equal, but we might have to do something else later. So we'll just make them equal for now. Now, there should be an arc in here, and you could do a couple different things. You could make an arc. There's an arc right here, but I'm not really fond of arcs. I would much rather do something else, and that is make a circle. And I'll make this circle. Notice how there's this line here that comes up, that little dashed line. If I go where the dashed line there and the dashed line here meet, then it should be vertical from the origin, and it should be collinear with this guy. But I'm just going to put it up here somewhere, kind of willy-nilly, if you will. And then, in that circle command, with that right click and select is what I did. So I'll click on here, add relation, and I'll make this line and this point. And I can actually click on this line if I didn't do it before, and I'll make them intersect. And that puts it on there. Then I can also click on the origin and the center of the circle and make them, well, I want them vertical. I don't want them, maybe I don't want to do that. Coincidence is not what I want. I want them vertical to each other. So let's get out of there. I wonder why I didn't grab the center of the circle. Maybe I'll grab the circle instead. All right, add relation, grab the circle, and grab the origin. And I didn't like that either, so that's okay. I can get rid of this guy instead probably, and I'll put it back later. And I'll add a relation between the center of the circle and the origin. And now I can make it vertical. Okay, and then I will make this guy again. Get rid of the origin. If I want to get rid of stuff, I can just right click and delete that. I'll do that and make it coincident with, not with the center point. Ow. Get out of here. Get rid of that center point. I don't like that. All right, so I will add a relation between the origin, or the circle, center of the circle, and the point, or the line there, and just make them coincident. Okay, now I just have to do one last thing. I'll go over here to trim, power trim, we'll get rid of this top part of the circle, and we'll get rid of the line there. So I didn't get rid of the line, and we'll get rid of the line there. Oh, Control Z. Come on, Control Z that. Get out of trim, and then Control Z. Now just do trim, and get rid of that part. There we go. So I'll do features. Oh, one last thing. Remember, this is blue, so that's not all the way defined. So what I'm going to do is smart dimension, and I'll just make this guy. I don't like that particular dimensioning style, but that's okay. That radius is 1, so I'll just put a radius of 1, and there we have it. Black is beautiful. This thing is all the way defined, and so we'll go to features, extrude by space, and it doesn't matter whether you do this blind or midplane, and I will just go ahead and put that in. Its width is 2.5, so I'll just put in 2.5, and there we have it. Another model complete in short order. So I'll just save this guy up, and again, this is 5-43. I'll hit save, and there we have it. So that's 3 models done in very quickly, and there we have it. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time with Design with Miyoshi.